Welcome again, Keepers of Light, and I call you that because you are just that. Keepers of Light. So I'm in the car, and this is where I'm recording from. I had the idea to record from here, and actually this is my third attempt at recording. I try to use the same app that I normally use, but it just wasn't working right on the phone, so I just ditched all that, and now I'm just using my phone's camera app to record this. And hopefully this time around there'll be no glitches, because if there are, then I'll probably like just take that as a message that have to do this later. I did get a couple downloads. I had one in the morning when I was doing dishes, and I had another one when I was dropping off the kids school, and then now I decided that's when I decided that I should do or try doing the video in the car. I haven't uploaded it yet, but there's a picture of the sun that I took yesterday, and I had that uploaded through the app, but because it doesn't work this way, I'm gonna have to add it in later. But there's like a sun that will be like right behind here, and and it was nice in that to add here to this message, just as just like a special touch to this video, in that the sun has always represented to me a tool of recalibration. It's always been that for me, and it's that for everybody. But I've always been aware that that's what it's doing for me, and in many ways, this is exactly what this channel and Keepers of Light are here to do. We hold the light, and we keep and maintain holding the light for ourselves primarily, and then for others who come into contact with us. And one of the first things I wrote down, what I did write down first, is abstract. And so the reason why I wrote down abstract was to kind of jog my memory to how I started this channel in the first place, which is I started channeling. I would get into the portal, into this Keeper of Light portal, and what I feel when I'm entering it is like being completely immersed in the energetics of allness. And from that space, I would verbalize, and then what would come through would be these abstract messages that I had to have spent time in. And I can see now, looking back, that it was important because it was like a baby stage, like being a baby and kind of forming the foundation for me to be able to come out here and be more practical in relaying this information to you. And it's the same way how we can perceive the ascension process for human beings, that we are graduating, that we're developing from being babies to being toddlers. In that analogy, you can use that analogy very well by reflecting to how it is that babies wind up making their milestones, whether it is learning how to walk or learning how to talk or interact and things like that. We are now upgrading in that same way. And the messages that I relay are really just to kind of help along in that process. I work well in terms of initiating people, and I'm like an initiator, like I'm like a catalyst, if you see what I'm saying. So there are many times where I will rub off wrong to people, or it'll either be either or. It'll be like I rub off really wrong to someone and they have no idea, but what it is I tend to trigger people into some sort of change, and usually it's like an evolutionary change, just because I show up as being very different. So that's just something on the side. um, so as it pertains to ascension, ascension can also be looked on as a function, as a feature of functionality, that we are learning how to function, to upgrade how we're functioning. The same way a baby's learning how to talk and walk, they're upgrading their ability to now to interrelate. We're learning the same thing right now. And uh, in the beginning, when I first started, it was more abstract in that I had to have had that nurturing. And it's the same thing that I would recommend for anybody who's kind of starting their spiritual awakening path. If you're on here, it means you're already in that spiritual awakening path. And there's going to be different levels to which all of you are coming here. So that's why the guides have had me kind of have this information out there already for depending upon what stage you're in, because you may want to go back to the more abstract recordings that will kind of nurture those aspects within yourself to kind of prepare yourself with information that maybe at now, if you're now receiving it and feeling as though, whoa, this is too much, like trigger, like I'm triggered, that could definitely be a remedy to, if you're feeling like I'm triggering you, it could be a remedy to go back and listen to the more abstract, the ones with the music in the background. And well, not, I put music in most of my tracks, so the ones that kind of don't have any my face to them. See what I'm saying? And then at some point, I became aware that I I am I am part of the portal. Like when I started becoming aware about all these things, then there were ways in which my channel changed and what I was offering in terms of messaging changed, and it just became more and more apparent to me that I was always working my way into being able to express, and me coming on here and practicing time after time again. I mean, there's nothing more I'd rather do, so it's something that I love doing anyway, and I guess I'll be continuing to do this, whether anyone's listening or not, is what I'm saying. So let me move on. Functionality. So the human being is a function of beingness, and the way that beingness is expressed is through programming. And so what we are learning right now, when you're learning how to progress into a higher state of beingness, which is what we're all kind of evolving into, then we're looking to address those parts of the functioning of our beingness that no longer are working, to upgrade them, because now we have had the foundation. Our lives themselves have been a foundation. So even though you could go back to looking at and listening to these abstract messages to kind of reorient yourself so that you can begin to receive the messages that I'm sending out in that way, that they actually start to work at that point of awareness, that you can receive them at that point of awareness where they're making sense to you. Yes, that's all necessary. That's all part of the process of awakening, but it doesn't have to look that way. It can just be that now your own life is gradually taking you there to those steps. So I just wanted to point that out, because sometimes people are looking for like one formula to do things, and there isn't just one formula. It may be more palatable for you to go elsewhere and find a way of evolving elsewhere, particularly if you're feeling as though you're not resonating to the messages being presented. So the hack is really just understanding, if there was a hack, the hack to graduating is really just understanding that we are operating from an energetic system. That's like part of the biggest foundation to ascension, is really just understanding that we are coming from an energetic perspective, and that we are here involved in the expression of different perspectives of beingness. However, there is this aspect of imbalance that I've talked about in previous videos also, and it's really just kind of centering upon the fact that human beings have kind of dispersed their energies and been operating from dispersed energy, and then now we're kind of like bringing that energy back into ourselves, and that's kind of like how we're empowering ourselves. And then it's really those ways in which the disbursement of your energy field that creates this sense of imbalance, which then creates a sense of oh, I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't have any control over things. And my job is to kind of be that catalyst that will kind of like fill that gap to your understanding of what it is that's emerging and happening. Because once you see the bigger picture, and I constantly do that, like I constantly take you back to the bigger picture, because it is moving far enough away from how things are and being able to observe them from that stance of looking, looking at what's occurring, that will allow you to see what it is that's occurring, to allow you to see the patternings, and then allow you to not just that, but to reorient yourself and your sense of beingness. Because one of the main things is that we have come to believe that who we are is kind of limited to the sense of dispersed energies that that we have allowed ourselves to kind of come from, to kind of attach to, and that's not true. So, okay, so another thing is, so it's about observing the programming and then learning from the programming. And then the other part is that there is this aspect of fear entering into the equation, and the fear is really kind of latched onto there being like a gap between the past, and then the past and living from the past being your guide to the future, rather than living from your centered sense of self, of your centered sense of higher self, and you closing the gap between that, like closing the gap between who you think you are, and that's really like the past. Who you think you are isn't who you are, and kind of disassociating from that concept that you are what you think is really also very important here. Um, so that when you're coming from that sense of centeredness in your higher beingness perspective, you then allow yourself to open up to what to open up yourself to like coming from less of the misconceptions that we have been tied to. So my work here is really just to kind of come on here and live out my life the way that it is, and then share the living out of my life the way that it is, because I've been set up to be on this path, because it is the reason why I've come into this incarnation. It's always been that my life would be a demonstration to myself primarily, but as an indirect effect to others, those of you who are also keepers of light, to share in that moments, in these moments of progression, particularly now. Beforehand, it was more of like a lonesome journey, but again, um, it's all been just in preparation. Your life, my life, regardless of what those details are, we've always been in preparation for these moments, which are at hand, these moments of awakening. We no longer have the security blanket of living within the structures of reality, which are crumbling. The security blankets have they're dissolving, and that's because they never really existed in terms of being concrete structures. I mean, it could also be argued that there's nothing that really exists as a concrete structure to any sort of depiction or perspective of reality. However, depending upon what incarnation that you're coming in from, depending upon what your soul's journey is, then all of them, all different sorts of perspectives do all have limitations to them. But we are still graduating, as would be were we to move from being a toddler to being a kid, to being a kid to being a young adult to adult, adulthood. There's different levels to that. The reason why we can say that we human beings are like in the baby stage is because we, even babies, I don't even know if using babies is really like the like, if you're looking at it literally as in like, oh, you love a baby just got born, is learning how to, do things. It's probably like an insult to the baby. But really, baby as in those beginning stages of just even learning what our body parts are, like learning, like this is becoming aware that I have a leg, like I have, oh what, I have, I have feet, things like that, like just becoming aware of like, oh, okay, I can push up from this chair to get up, becoming aware of the controls of your energetic system, which is really looking at your body, looking at how your body reacts, looking at how your body has been programmed to react. And we can assume that programming exists because guess what? You don't have to think about swallowing or certain things that you're doing, but it's already programmed within you. So we can always assume that we are programmable. And if we are, then what are those programs that have been running that now need to be looked at, that need to be adjusted? That's the conversation that I'm bringing forward here. Just because, yeah, just because. Let me move on to like the next thing. Let me see if I'm missing anything here, because I think I'm running long here with the message and going off on tangents. Yeah, okay, so I just wrote here that we are maturing realignment to the center point of self. Okay, so I wrote realignment to the center point of self is what then is allowing what naturally arises from us to lead us into new territories of exemplification of who we are becoming. Okay, so with that, I'm just, it's just going back to the same thing again. It's this aspect of remembering who we are, and I've uploaded messages about this before. So in many ways, I may have just very well, when it comes to this practicality and showing up differently, a little bit differently than I did before, it's all just kind of like a demonstration of showing what the steps are to remembering who you are, and I'm not the first one to do this. I mean, everyone who is really who has really been a powerful spiritual teacher has done the same, and sent out the same message. However, it's all about perspective too. So in that way, everything does have a way of coming out uniquely through everyone, and I'm hoping that I'm making sense to you guys. So another thing too is I just wanted to request that if you have any helpful comments to make, please let it be helpful comments to make, then yeah, please reach out to me if you have questions about anything. Reach out to me. I want to link, oh, that was another thing that came up. I'm so glad I didn't really close off so early. I wanted to link into a video that my soul ASCENSiON partner has uploaded this morning. So I listened to her video as I was doing dishes and doing like the whole morning routine. I was listening to her message in the morning and I thought, oh wow, it's linked to the message that I posted yesterday. And at the same time, what we're both talking about at the same time. Yesterday, I more so focused on fear, and she was talking about this and how to work with fear she is a tremendously powerful teacher, and I want to link her video to this one so that you can check out. Well, I don't think it'll be a clickable link, but I will link her a description of her video so that you can find it if you're looking for help in terms of. It's just like a 30-minute video. It's really powerful in that she actually walks you step by step through shadow working, which is one of the ways to now remember who you are. Because it's kind of like, like if you were to look at this car, I mean, and, look at the engine and see how everything is connected together and how really she kind of walks through the bigger picture of how to do so. And it's really what we are doing when we are now looking at being aware of the programmings that we have within us. And in many ways, it is linked to deconstructing and then getting to the source, which is again kind of like getting to that center point of beingness, as much as we can within the limitations of this third density reality. And Dona is her name. I did a video with her a few months ago, and it was just a question about karma that we both answered. And if you want to check that out, also just look through my library of videos, and you're going to be able to find. It's the only one that I did with her so far, but I do plan on working more with her going forward. She's not just a powerful teacher, but she also has powerful tools. She has she has these crystals that are so powerful. When I hold one of them, or even look at one of them, I can literally feel the energy coming from them. So that's another thing that she does. And she's also a painter, and she has a whole story that is crazier. Likely, no, it is crazier than mine. Like in terms of, oh, here I am coming out saying I'm a starseed, and everyone's like, okay, what is she talking about? Yeah, she's got like her own journey that is just as unique and just as leading edge. But I'm gonna cut the video here because it's kind of running long, and I already know that there's an urgency to timing these days. And I feel like everyone's like in a rush, in a hurry, when really, what are we all running towards? I mean, what are we all rushing to? Like, you got to be careful, because it's like, prioritizing like what you're running towards. Like, are we even paying attention to what we're running towards? Are we looking at the programming? And then can we take the time to just take a moment to look at the programming, to see whether or not, is this something that I want to continue doing? Is this something that I want to have reoccur in the future? And that's really where we're at this timeline of human beingness. Whether it is that we are running more and more towards, certain things or the other, but we're all in this together as keepers of light, hope helping to keep the light and to be a light onto the presence of confusion that is prevalent in these days. So, all right, let me go. All right, and talk to you again soon.